Okay, so now you've decided that you want to move to the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. So the next most important thing, are you gonna rent or are you gonna buy? That's what we're gonna discuss in this video. We're also gonna discuss things like where are you gonna rent, where are you gonna buy, the advantages and disadvantages of either of these options, and then maybe we'll sprinkle in a little bit of what we think what the best option is. So stay tuned, we hope you enjoy the video. What's up everybody? My name is AJ Pedersen, and on our page we teach you everything you need to know about living in the Minneapolis area, what it's like to eat, play, live, and learn in this wonderful community that we call home. So we hope you enjoy the page. If you like it, hit the subscribe button or ding the bell to see future videos and get notified when we put stuff out. All the time, we get people reaching out, asking us about what it's like to live in the Minneapolis area. So if that's you, comment on the post, reach out to us. Our contact info is below. You can reach us directly, or like I said, shoot us a comment, we'll get back to you. So you've arrived at the big decision of whether you're going to buy or rent a home in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. So with this decision comes a lot of different things you have to think about. This is not just a on a whim type decision. You've got to be thinking about the areas you want to be in, the budget that you have, and things like that. So we're going to teach you a few different things that you may want to know or maybe haven't thought about. Stay tuned to hear more. When people ask us that question, whether they should rent or they should buy, there are 5 questions we'd like to ask them. First question, what can you afford? It's so important to know what you can afford, and that could be maybe cash you have saved for a down payment or a security deposit, but it can also be monthly rent or mortgage payment. So understanding what goes into your rent, how much you could expect to pay in utilities, and then also on the flip side, what you could expect to pay with your mortgage payment and what other outside costs are associated with that. 2, how long do you plan on staying in this home? You know, when you buy, you typically are putting down roots to stay there a little bit longer. Some people do move quickly, but when you're renting, you can just up and leave after your lease is done and find a new place. So how long you're going to stay there is an important question we'd like to ask. 3, kind of the same thing as the last question, a little bit, but a little different. Do you want stability or flexibility? So those who want more flexibility might opt for the renting route. Those who want more stability to stay in the same place might think harder about buying. Or can you afford home repairs and maintenance? As a landlord myself, I know my tenant's not going to be responsible to, you know, fix a broken furnace or a leaking pipe. But as a homeowner, I understand that's my responsibility. So when you're renting, you have much less responsibility for some of the home repairs and maintenance on a house. And so you want to factor that in, not just money, but time when you think about buying a home. 5th question, what are your long-term goals? What are your financial goals? What are your family goals? Thinking about that is so important because it does help to paint a better picture about where you are today and where you're trying to go, and we can kind of fit in your housing situation to match those needs and wants. All right, now we're gonna go over what it means to buy a home, what it would mean to rent a home, some of the advantages and disadvantages of both options. First off, let's address what it actually means when you buy a house. So when you put down a down payment and purchase a property, you own it. But in exchange, if you do a mortgage, you have a amount of money that you owe a bank, and the bank is holding your home as the collateral. So while you are the owner on title, technically you're paying down the bank to get rid of that responsibility of theirs in the ownership structure of the home. So with that, you're responsible for cleaning your gutters, maintaining all of your mechanicals. As I mentioned earlier, fixing leaking things like that. You're also responsible for paying the taxes, paying the insurance, and anything that goes along with, you know, that sort of purchase. Obviously, when you own a home, it's really important that you maintain it very well, because down the road, someday, you're probably going to want to sell it. And also, while you're living there, the better maintained the property is, the better the chance is that things don't break or become problems down the road. One thing I forgot to mention, as you make your mortgage payment, you're gonna be putting principal towards that loan on the bank. And so that's gonna be buying down your owed amount to the bank over time. And typically we do that over a 15 or a 30-year amortization is what it's called. So over time, the amount of money you pay towards interest goes down and the amount of money you pay towards principal goes up each month until the last possible month when you no longer owe the bank any money for that property. Owning a home is great if you're looking for stability and not necessarily as much flexibility, but you're also ready for the commitment that it takes to be an actual homeowner. Buying a home doesn't look the same for everybody. Some people will spring for an older home with character. Some people are looking for something to remodel. A lot of people spring for new construction. So just know, not everybody really gets lumped into the same bucket, but we do like to use these questions to kind of lead us down this path to know if buying is the right decision for you. So again, we've got some few key advantages for owning a home, for buying a property. Those are, the home could appreciate over time. If you look at historical graphs of home price appreciation, you can kind of see how that has gone over time in the United States and specifically in Minnesota. Currently at the date of this video, we are experiencing very rapid increases in values in the Twin Cities, around 9 to 11% last year in 2020. The longer you live in a home, the more equity you're gonna have, hopefully, if the property does appreciate and you pay it down, the more equity you're gonna have to do home equity lines of credit, second mortgages, and things like that. Also, when you own a home, sometimes that does allow for a little bit more space. You would get the flexibility of, putting holes in the walls and remodeling and doing whatever you want to fit your needs better, when you compare it to renting. So there are some disadvantages of owning a home as well. You could say that the lack of flexibility is one disadvantage that owning a home would give you. I mean, you need a substantial down payment. Oftentimes you're paying your own closing costs as well. So typically it makes more sense to stay in one place for a little bit longer period of time. Owning a home requires maintenance and time and money and energy. So this would be another one of the disadvantages of owning a home. Also, as we saw during the financial crisis, 2007 to 2009, the real estate market can decline and the value of your property can decrease. So there is a risk that, while on the upside it could go up in value, there is also a risk that it could go down in value if the market changes. So now let's talk about renting a home. When you rent a home, you don't own it. So you're paying a monthly rent to a landlord who owns the home. The landlord is then doing what we just described, which is paying down the mortgage and gaining that equity potentially, while you're the one that's just staying in the home. So you're not gaining any potential equity or growth financially from that monthly payment. Renting a home does give you more flexibility. So you do have the ability to, let your 1-year lease come up and then you can move to a different city or a different area or different style of home to kind of fit your family's needs as things change in your life. So it does offer some great flexibility for moving about. One other nice thing about renting is the bigger expenses are likely on the landlord. So as the renter, you might be responsible for paying utilities or maybe changing light bulbs. Some landlords have the renter mow the lawn or shovel the snow, but when things break down, anything like that, it's going to be the landlord's responsibility to pay for. And just like with buying, you can buy many different types of homes. With renting, you can rent all different types of homes. There are people that will rent single-family homes, multifamily homes like duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. There are larger apartment complexes and condos, different lease terms, 1 year, 6 months, 18 months, 24 months. So you do have some options there as well. And it's really just best to check in with the landlords to see what kind of options they have for lease lengths are, but also to scan the whole market to see what kind of property suits your needs. Some advantages to renting a property: you aren't responsible for all of the maintenance. You have the flexibility to move when you want. You're not responsible for a large down payment, only for a security deposit. So there are some great things about renting, and the ability to move about, has become more popular over the years, and that's why renting is still so popular. So there's some disadvantages, right? You're not going to get to participate in the pay down of that property if you are a renter. You're also going to be subject to the rules of the landlord, which could include, no pets or certain noise restrictions and things like that. So those are definitely things to think about. Rents can also go up with inflation. So that's one thing to think about, is that when you own a home, it can often be in the form of a 15 or 30-year fixed monthly payment. So your principal and interest payments stay the same every month. Over time, rent will rise, and so you'll be responsible for the changing rate as time goes on. So obviously, we're rental property owners ourselves. We love being landlords, and we try to treat our tenants tip-top the best we possibly can, because we know that in the end, we're trying to provide a service for them. So if you are a renter, I think you should expect that level of service from your landlord. When stuff breaks, there should be prompt response, and they should be checking in on the property and doing regular maintenance, like either telling you or coming out and changing furnace filters, cleaning gutters, things like that. It is very important as a renter that you do get in a situation where you have a good landlord. We get all kinds of tenants, but a lot of them are doing it to kind of figure out where they want to live long term, and so they appreciate the flexibility while they're living in our properties, and then maybe they decide 2, 3, 4 years later they like a certain area and they're gonna jump and go for that stability of owning a home in an area that they love. At the end of the day, buying and renting are both very good options, and either of them can be a great fit for really anybody. I think this video was mostly pointed at those 5 questions we asked, and that's what I think you should ask yourself, is ask yourself those 5 questions that we asked earlier in the video to determine what the pros and cons are of either choice for you, and if you really want to rent or own a home. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.